this is going to be greatly beneficial from both safety point of view as well as deriving optimal performance out.
In terms of post-GST reduction demand, could you give us a sense of how the demand has been for you in rural and urban areas? What would be the difference and the percentage of growth that you're seeing?
Well, post-GST, it is a different world. On the 22nd September, which is the very next day, we had a phenomenal 100 crore sale in a day. Never experienced that in the past. But that is all pent up. People for 20 days did not buy a single product, so to say, because they were all looking forward to the benefit of the lower GST. So it did, to answer your broader question, it did create a spurt in demand. And even in the month of October, that demand has continued somewhat. But I have a sense that this was the initial spurt. Gradually, this excitement will wane off a little bit. However, in the long term, the affordability of the product will improve and increase. So is the case going to be with cars. The small cars will come back with, I think, with a good traction. And therefore, our tires. So going forward, I think it will boost, generally speaking, a demand. And not only for tires, but across the economy, to my mind.
Right. The US tariffs of 50%, could you give us a sense how they have impacted your business so far? There was discussion between India and US to have a deal by fall this year, by November, December. We're already in November, there is no deal. What's your thought? What's been the impact on the industry?
Well, that's a billion-dollar question. I do not know when the deal will be coming at all, but I have a sense it will. But coming back to the point, if there is no deal, with 50% tariffs, which is, now when we compare ourselves with the other competing countries like Vietnam, Thailand and Cambodia and the like, our tariffs will be way higher. Their tariffs are around 13 to 15%. And if it is in 50% range, I don't think we are going to make it. Because a US importer, why will he import a product or buy a product 50% or let's say 40% higher than somebody else, when the performance are similar? I mean, you can always claim a particular brand is better or so. So why should anybody do it? So we have, as a industry, as a company, formed a strategy, alternate strategy. Couple of things. We are now catering to the US market more through our Mexican operations. Luckily, Mexico-US does not have an issue, at least not that in the foreseeable future. Both USA, Mexico and Canada, they have some arrangement, and about 10% tariff is what it is. I hope it will continue because it's a fallout of NAFTA, as you know. But so we are trying to divert more product to USA from Mexico rather than India. And from India, we are looking to alternate markets. We are developing Europe. We are working very hard, and I'm sure it will come up. Some of the other friends of ours in the industry are already catering to Europe. And so I think, look, it's something like there is a balance created, equilibrium created in the troubled waters when such things happen. So in a course of a year or so, I think things will settle down and everything will find its own way and level.
I would also like to ask you about your expectations from the union budget. This comes at a time when the government, after the GST reforms, is working on the next set of reforms. In fact, Shaktikanta Das, the Principal Secretary of the Prime Minister, has already told CNBC-TV18 that there are more reforms in the pipeline. One reform, according to you, which could really unleash more private capex, or something that you personally want to see?
If in one word I were to say that, is ease of doing business. Believe me, a lot has happened, positive things have happened in terms of easing the process, in terms of direct billing, income tax returns and manless, faceless assessments and so on and so forth, online clearances and so on. But still on the grassroots level, the ease of doing business is not there. And that is one reason why investment is not coming to the extent we would have expected. In fact, I aired this concern to somebody, people in government, that this is what we need to correct somehow. That genuinely ease of doing business. Now, there I mean land, example. it takes a couple of years to get land allocated. You go to Thailand, in 7 days you are TikTok and on the business, start work. So that is the competition. I mean, that's where the opportunities are. Power arrangements. Now, then of course, road transport we cannot complain about, is doing tremendous work and connectivity is improved. But even otherwise, the infrastructure. Until unless we are wise enough to understand this aspect sooner, we will not get real investments. And more so, please appreciate, you and I are sitting in India. Any foreigner, why would he come and break his head, if I may, unnecessarily in terms of time? Time is money. So that needs to be corrected. That is one single factor to my mind, which will make a huge difference.
Right. Now, speaking about the major headwinds for the industry, tariffs is one. Are there other headwinds that you see in the domestic or global markets?
Look, headwinds keep coming up from time to time, depending on the changing environment. In India in particular, we are looking at growth. X amount of growth, even RBI has projected 6.8% plus. So far, so good. But if the growth slows down, tire industry is certainly going to be impacted because there are two aspects of the tire business. Three, let us say. One is the commercial. Commercial indicates the goods to be transported. Now, cement sector is not doing so well, nor is the coal sector doing so well because of the industry demand. So to that extent, there's a freight shortage to that extent. But hopefully they say that the monsoons are over and so on and so forth. The next quarter onwards, we will see some spurt. That will securitize the position of demand. But on the other hand, if you go to the passenger segment, here is a question of affordability. Affordability not of tires. Tires not a big deal. Affordability of cars. And there I feel somehow enthused that the two-wheeler existing owners will have to graduate to four-wheeler. And that entry has to be a small car. This is my conviction. Although a lot has been talked about SUVs and so on and so forth. But SUVs will remain, but there's got to be a transition to a small car. And that should boost a lot of demand going forward. Now, this is not going to happen tomorrow morning. It's a matter of a year or so, 6 months, or a year or two, and gradually it will pick up. Second aspect is that the rural sector, albeit this year's monsoon or excessive weather conditions have spoiled the game, no doubts, floods, drought, this, that, and the other. But going forward, our agro sector retention of money in their hands is expenditure, surplus expendable money is quite a bit, is improving. And that should lead to demand growth because ultimately our masses live there, not in the cities. And that volume should improve. And that should generate a sustained demand going forward. But again, it's a matter of time. Right. It will take a year or so and gradually it will pick up.
Right. Could you give us your CapEx plans for the next 2 to 3 years? Which are the key areas where you would like to invest in?
Well, we have just completing a CapEx of nearly 3,500 crores, the last bit of which will be completed now in the next quarter. And then we are drawing up another 3,000-4,000 crore CapEx plan for the next 5 years. And the area, of course, because we find that we are getting short of capacity, at least our company, in terms of both passenger car tires as well as truck tires. So we are planning CapEx. And this is based both on domestic demand as well as we are creating capacities for export because we find there's a good traction for our products in the international markets, notwithstanding America. We want to continue our growth there. So basically our expansions will be in truck and cars. And in 10 years, we see at least 4x volume growth for ourselves. And hopefully the profits will keep pace.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. More news and updates continue right here.